Good morning once again. In business news at this hour, industry role players have reacted negatively to another drop in manufacturing activity in South Africa. According to the latest figures from Stats SA, production fell by 3.7% in January, the largest contributors there being activity in petroleum, motor vehicles and transport equipment, among others. Again, the impact of load shedding has been attributed as the main concern, similar to the decline seen in the mining industry. Industry body Safe says Dafadzwa Chibanguza joins us for more reaction. Thank you for your time, Dafadzwa. Quite concerning, 3.7%. Is this what the market expected?
Good morning, Dumisang. Thanks for having us. A much worse number was expected if you look at the Reuters poll. So the number came in somewhat better, but in the end, it's still bad news given the fact that it's a decline. But I think some context is also necessary here, Dumisang, that what is quite evident in these numbers is the base effect. If you look at the fact that Q1 2022 was quite a strong period. And any declines which we know are largely coming from the battered economy that we are currently working within, largely driven by load shedding, does exaggerate that decline being the 3.7% number that we saw. So that base effect does come through. And why that point becomes even more prevalent is that when you look at the month-on-month numbers, you see an increase of 1.1%. Again, talking to that base effect of January on December, which was naturally a low month because of the slowdown in the production cycle. So while it's evident of an economy in trouble, that context of that base effect that affecting these numbers is also very important.
Very important to also ask about what's expected in the near term, because it's not going to take a magic wand for load shedding to disappear in South Africa or economic growth to accelerate.
Very true, Dumisang. In fact, right now, we a few weeks ago, I think when we last chatted to you, we had just launched our State of the Sector report, and that's really looking at our sector, steel and engineering. And we are on record for the calendar year 2023, expecting a production decline of about 2.5%. That's our base case scenario. And it's interesting that if you were just to look at it, and if you look at our sector, the year-on-year number, the equivalent of that manufacturing 3.7 number for our sector was 2.5%. So just even on an arithmetic basis, where even if the rest of the economy recorded zero, or our sector didn't grow in production at 0% for the rest of the year, that forecast that we had put out, the 2.5% decline, would then play out. But to your point, Dumisang, load shedding is with us. It's here to stay, which is why the resolution in that area, particularly what we welcome, is the incentives that were afforded to business during the course of the budget speech. That there is one important move that will help to move the dial in terms of the load shedding impact, because that is the most prevalent risk facing the sector, manufacturing and our steel and engineering.
Dafadzwa, is or are there any measures within industry to cushion against the rolling blackouts that we are seeing without putting pressure on manufacturers to be self-sufficient, essentially?
Dumisang, I'll go to your word earlier where you said, it's unfortunately not an easy one type solution. We are in fact in the process of consolidating a electricity impact assessment or load shedding impact assessment of our members. And we'll be glad to talk to you when we do release that. But what we are seeing is that the only solution, particularly given the energy-intensive users, and I'm talking manufacturing energy-intensive, not smelters and the rest, which are even more energy-intensive, but the manufacturing heavy engineering, they are relying a lot more on generators, that being diesel generators. So that is the one cushion against load shedding. But then equally, they are reporting double-digit increases to operating costs, purely just given the diesel cost and the rate per kilowatt hour it is to run a diesel generator. So unfortunately, in the near term, it's pain all round because even the solutions are costly. I do think the incentives around solar will help, But again, we know given the energy availability factors of solar and the rest, it's not really what drives the equivalent of what base load energy can achieve. So no real solution in the near term, Dumisang, other than just getting more megawatts on board, helping the private sector to get that on board, and we're talking at base load level, and also resolving the coal units.
That's where we'll leave it with SASA's Dafazwa Chibanguza reacting to the latest manufacturing figures that have recorded a drop of 3.7% in the month of January. That's it from the business desk. Benjamin is standing by to give you the latest in the world of sport.